Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're seeing my face for the first time, you're welcome. Please consider subscribing to this channel. So with me here today is none other than my husband. Say hi to my channel.
Hey folks, my name is Chinedu.
Yeah, so in my previous video, in one of my previous videos, I mentioned that we're going to be doing a sit down video to highlight or to explain the global talent visa in detail. If you don't know already, we came into the UK with the global talent visa. So my husband is here today to give us more information, because I'm sure some of us have not even heard about global talent visa before. So he is the primary applicant, and so he is going to give us he's going to break it down for us, give us the full gist or the details in the global talent visa application. So over to you
Folks, Chinedu here again. Like you know, my wife mentioned, we got into the UK with a tier 1 visa called the global talent visa. The UK government basically said that they need talents across the world, right? So and the idea is, if you know you meet certain criteria, you should just come in and start working. So you don't need to already have a job before you move to the UK. All you just need to do is apply, meet certain criteria. So what the global talent visa does for you is, like I said, access to working and living in the UK, and then there's definitely routes to settlement, which most people do call ILR. And then there's the next stage, which is, if you want this, you can move forward to get in a citizenship within the UK. The overall body, which is the global talent, right? So, and that global talent are categorized into 3 major areas of focus, right? There's arts and culture, there's digital technology, and then the third one is academics and research, right? For the sake of this video and our experiences, we're going to be solely focused on our own routes. So like I mentioned earlier, there are 3 key focus areas: academia and research, arts and culture, and of course digital technology, right? These 3 have different endorsing bodies. I'll get into what endorsement means when we're talking about. So basically, endorsement is someone needs to review every single thing you've submitted just to be sure that you met those criteria. So like I said, we're focusing on digital tech because I'm a product manager. Our key focus for this call is on TechNation, which is the endorsing body for digital tech. We're not experts. We're basically just sharing our experiences, right? And the idea is to help someone go through this process a bit more seamlessly by learning from some of our mistakes. So we've broken this down into 3 key phases, right? The first phase is what we like to call the research phase, right? It's almost like you're warming up, right? And then the second phase is what we're calling the evidence gathering phase, and then the third phase again is the application process. So research, evidence gathering, and application. So we'll focus on the research as the first point of call, right? So when we started and we said to ourselves, we've looked at this opportunity, something we think we can explore, we decided to, first off, read the official global talent visa guide, right? So I'm sure my wife will be linking, putting the link to the website on the comments of this video, so you can basically take a look. That's the first thing we did, and that's what I would advise anyone that wants to get into it. There's so many information out there. It makes absolutely more sense to get it from the official documentation. So the first one is the global talent visa guide, right? This one you find on the gov.uk website, right? Again, link will be on the description box. Then the second part is read the official TechNation documentation, right? So I said official global talent visa guide, right? gov.uk. And then because TechNation is the endorsing body for digital tech, you need to read that documentation and understand it properly. Again, link to that website will be dropped on the description box. A point to note, by the way, is that we did this all ourselves. Like I said, the expert you can get to help you do some of these things, but right, I mean, it doesn't, the entire application process don't say that you must use experts. So this is our own approach.
We are not experts.
Yeah,
we are not
I mean,
immigration experts.
no, we're not. They're registered experts for this. We're just, again, sharing our experiences with you. Part of our research was we found the discourse forum was a very helpful forum, right? Super helpful forum, right? Again, we're going to drop the link on the description box. What happens in that discourse forum is that you see people with experience, people that have gotten this, global talent visa, share their own experiences, go through the process of helping you even review how you want to plan your evidences. I'll come to the evidences later. Then the next thing we did was, discuss forum is one thing. You also want to hear from certain people, right? You want to, maybe watch videos. Yeah. What we also did was we literally just looked through YouTube, right? Got some other people's experiences, and one other thing that we also did that was super helpful is look around your network. You'll probably be shocked at the amount of people that have used this to travel, right? So we're lucky to find people within our network that have done this before. So we tapped into that network, right? We asked a lot of questions. There's also that extra edge that interaction gives to you, right? Asking specific questions, getting specific feedback. Of course, if you have any of them, we can drop on the comment section. We can provide feedback if you want, right? And interestingly, we've been able to help some of our friends. A couple of my friends are now here with this visa. Yeah. So that kind of concludes the research phase. Again, just a quick recap on what you need to do on the research phase. Read the Global Talent Visa Guidance from gov.uk. Read the official technician document. Visit discuss forum. Again, link to all this will be dropped at the description box, and then you learn about other people's experiences. Tap into your network, look at YouTube videos, just understand a bit more. This takes us to the next phase, which is what we call the evidence gathering phase. The official document, I'm paraphrasing here, the official document from Technician will tell you that there are two main categories, right? So there is the exceptional talent and there's an exceptional promise, right? So exceptional talent basically means you're a leading talent. You've been doing whatever in the digital sector for more than 5 years, basically 5 years and above, right? The promise route basically says you've been doing it for less than 5 years, right? So it says you have the potential to becoming a leading talent in the digital sector. So for the experience route, right, they expect you to come to the UK with a 3 years visa, and on the 4th year you can apply for indefinite leave to remain, which is what most people call the permanent residency. Yeah. 5th year you can now start planning towards citizenship, right? And then meanwhile, for the promise route, right, you have you get a 5 years visa. On the 6th year, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. On the 7th year, you can plan towards getting a citizenship in the UK. So, two main routes, right? And then, of course, the criteria for these routes are kind of different, right? They kind of, a bit more intertwined, but for the most part, they're different. So, now, for eligibility, the question is who is qualified for these, right? Again, two broad categories of who is qualified and who is not qualified, and you'll find this on the official documentation. You need to look at them very well. The first one is there is the technical guys, right? It's almost like, let me call them technical category. So the technical categories are the engineers, which is software engineers. There is the cloud architect, there is the UI and UX designers, and a couple of you find all those in the official documentation, right? Now, for the non-technical guys, which is what they're calling the business guys, that's where I fall on that category, because as a product manager, I'm not too technical, I'm more on the business side. So you find experienced product managers, you find marketing teams, you find comms teams, you find and customer experience guys within that space. Now, there's one key thing you need to notice that kind of separates technical guys from the business guys, right? So, which is what technicians call a product-led organization. So, if you're a technical guy, right, system administrator, software engineer, you don't need to be working in a product-led organization. So, as long as you're technical and you can provide the evidences that shows that you're technical, right? You don't need to work in any of these in a product-led organization. Now, for the business guys, right, which is people like me, you need to be working in a product-led organization. So basically, what is a product-led organization? Again, I'm going to paraphrase from my own understanding. A product-led organization basically means, are you working in an organization where the source of revenue for that business is based off, let's say, an application, right, or a certain process that is completely technologically driven, right? An example would be, because we're Nigerians, I would say one good example would might be Flutterwave or Paystack, and an example of a non-product-led organization would be banks in Nigeria, like First Bank, Access Bank, others ones. So yeah, I just hope that kind of clarifies what that is. So now that you've read the documentation, you have a clear understanding of the differences between the talent and the promise route, right? The question now becomes, what route suits you the most? We chose our route, and then the next phase was for us to define the criteria that we think we meet. The official documentation kind of tells you that you have to meet, like I mentioned, certain criteria for them to endorse you. So endorsement, like I said, is basically someone looks through your document and say, okay, yeah, you meet this one check, you meet this one check, you meet this one check, so we'll give you the endorsement. That's basically what it means. So now to the criteria, you need to meet what they call the mandatory criteria, right? Again, looking at the official documentation, you even see great examples of some of the evidences that you need to submit to help you meet those criteria. One, you have to meet the mandatory criteria, right? And then you have to choose 2 optional criteria. Is basically the best way to look at this is like the exams, right? Where they tell you question 1 is compulsory for everyone, right? And then choose any other 2 questions, right? That's basically the way to look at it. So the mandatory criteria, you're definitely going to fill it. You don't have any option. You have to fill it, right? For the optional criteria, there are 4 of them, right? Again, the documentation will tell you exactly what those 4s are. But for the first one, it's focused on have you ever led or been part of building an innovative product? This is me paraphrasing, by the way. The actual way it's written, you will find it in the documentation, right? Then the second one says, how much have you kind of given back to the ecosystem that you've worked on? That's basically, have you done a lot of mentorship? Have you done some of this work? That's what the second phase is. And then the third phase is focused on impact. That's what we normally do call it. So it's basically asking you, how much have you helped a business in a product-led organization? Or have you worked on a product with them, and then that product became a commercial success? It doesn't necessarily need to be money. It's impact, numbers. You've reached so and so people. You've made so and so revenue. What you're just showing is how you were involved in the process, basically, right? The fourth one is, have you worked on a research paper in this particular field? I have one of my friends that is involved in these research papers heavily on artificial intelligence, and he's been part of this process. So if you find yourself in those kind of places, you can use it. Now, you're not trying to do all of them, because that's not what we did. What we did was, in what criteria in those 4 can we say we have enough evidences to say that we've done these things? Like I said, mandatory criteria has to be done. And then the other 2, so we chose the first one, which is we've worked on an innovative product, right? And then we chose the third one, which is we've made certain part in certain products, right? So our product that I've worked on has reached a couple of people, lots of people. One thing to know is that we've done the first phase, which is we've chosen our preferred category. We chose our preferred category. The second phase was I chose two out of the 4 optional criteria with the majority criteria, right? And then the next one was what I did was bring this all together in a Word document, right? I wrote down, on the left hand side, it's almost like a small table. On the left hand side, I wrote down the actual. I just basically copied and pasted from the official documentation on what they require for mandatory criteria 1, right? And then I listed out all what I think would be my evidences for each one of them. I did the same thing for optional criteria 1. I listed out what I think would be my evidences. I listed out optional criteria 3. We might just drop a link to that documentation, something that kind of gives you a view of what the document I used looked like. Now the fourth phase for us was time to gather our evidences. Again, official documentation from Technician and the Global Talent Visa gives you all this in detail, right? So you submit 10 evidences, right? You submit your CV, you submit 3 recommendation letters, and then you enter a personal statement. When we get to the application phase, I'll tell you exactly how you would upload or fill all those ones in, right? Remember, we have 3 criteria: 1 mandatory criteria, 2 optional criteria, right? And then you have 10 evidences. So your job is to make sure that these 10 evidences will cut across these 3 options. So for mandatory criteria, right, we used 4 evidences. So we'll call it, let's just call it evidence 1, evidence 2, evidence 3, evidence 4, right? Those were supposed to prove that I am a leading talent in the field of digital technology. Now, on the optional criteria, we used 3 evidences. Now, those 3 evidences were supposed to show that I've been involved in working in an innovative product, right? Then for optional criteria 3, of course, we used another 3 evidences, and then that showed that I've been involved in working in a product that has impact and reach. Basically, whether it's revenue or it has reached, plenty of people. But that's basically the idea, right? Now, again, it just looks like information. 433. That's basically what it was for us. 4 for mandatory criteria, 3 for optional criteria 1, 3 for optional criteria 3. Now, another interesting thing to note is that one evidence, right? Like I said, you have to submit 10 evidences, right? One evidence should not be more than 3 pages, right? It can be less, but it should not be more than 3 pages. So here's an instance. Remember, we said we're submitting 4 evidences for mandatory criteria, right? My evidence number 1 can be up to 3 pages, but it must not be more than 3 pages, right? Evidence number 2 can be up to 3 pages, but it must not be more than 3 pages. So that's how you bring them together and then you submit. Of course, you definitely know that you're going to work on your CV, right? And then the third one is that you work on recommendation letter. You're basically saying, I've done this and this and this in your evidences. So you need people to say, yeah, I remember he doing this with me. I helped him or I managed him. He was part of the entire process. And then the third one is personal statement. You bring it all together. But of course, CV is basically straightforward, right? Just, normal thing that you'll be using to look for work. You will drop it there. The recommendation letter, a bit more information on the recommendation letter. It needs to come from 3 C-suite executives that are working in a product-led organization. Again, remember, product-led, it has to be an organization that is focused, or their source of revenue is mainly focused on a product, like an application, a software that they're giving out to the users, right? So 3 C-suite executives, right? So, VP of product, VP of growth, chief executive officer, chief product officer, chief technology officer, those are C-suite executive. Again, like I said, product-led organization, right? And then the C-suite executive need to, specify, again, you need to look at the official documentation. These are highlighted. You need to specify how they've met you, how they know about your work, what they think you're going to bring to the UK digital ecosystem. They'll bring that together into one single recommendation letter, right? So 3 people, like I said, 3 different recommendation letters, and then they will ask you to bring in their CVs. You don't necessarily need to bring people's CV. You can. What they need is a proof of their credentials, right? So I'm paraphrasing here, by the way. A proof of their credentials basically means, if you can pull it up from LinkedIn. In my experience, we used LinkedIn for most of for all my recommendation letters, right? But you have to put their email addresses, you have to put their phone numbers, and you have to put their LinkedIn addresses. A tip here would be focus on gathering your 10 evidences first before you move towards the recommendation letter, right? So actually, even a step further, I would say after gathering your evidences and putting your evidences together, right? That's only when you should start talking to people. Well, you can just mention it to people about recommendation letter, right? But then you have to speak to them when you're sure what your evidences are looking like. The idea behind that is that the people that are recommending you, they need to be speaking specifically to what you've put up as your evidence. So if you're saying, I work with this organization, I was leading product, for instance, and we grew from 1,000 people to 100,000 people. Whoever is recommending you should be able to specifically state what you just mentioned. Like, okay, while he was working, he helped the team move from 1,000 users to 500k users. So that is what you're trying to do. Remember, the person that is going to assess your document haven't met you before. It's more or less your word and your recommendations word for it. So they need to be sure that you've done what you said you've done, and someone else can attest to what you said you've done, just like a law court basically. Now you're done with the trade recommendation letter. Now the last part, which is the personal statement. Again, I would advise you to actually write the personal statement last, right? When you've done all the entire process, you've gathered every single thing, your recommendation letter is there, because your personal statement is basically bringing every single thing together. So you have 10 evidences and you've distributed it the way you want it to be, and then you have your CV, you have your recommendation letter. You're basically saying all this is me. So again, there's a detailed process of what they expect from a recommendation letter from the official document, but to just summarize it, they're basically saying, who are you? What have you done? Right? Why do you deserve to get this? And what will you be doing when you get to the UK? Basically, that's what they're saying. So you're telling them your entire story about your journey through. For me, it was my journey through tech, right? I told them, I've worked in a couple of places. I have experiences building this product, and this product. I've helped businesses achieve this, and this. And when I come to the UK, this is hopefully what I want to be doing. I want to continue in this part of the product management part, and I want to be able to contribute to the sector, and a couple of more things. That's basically what I did. You're bringing all these things together and you're saying, this is who I am, right? So we've done two phases now. We've done the research phase and the evidence gathering phase. Now when you have all this information, it's time to go and apply. I specifically don't say start the application before you start gathering the evidences. I said research, gather your evidences. Well, this is how we did it, by the way, right? You can do it anyhow, but I would recommend you do it this way. You research, you gather your evidences, right? And then you get into the application. So now you have to go back to the gov.uk website. The normal process of, do you want to start the application? I think the website is kind of pretty straightforward. Do you want to start the application? A couple of more clicks, and you fill some information. They will ask you about your passport. They ask you where you live, whether you've traveled for so long, all those kind of interesting things, right? You fill up those information, right? And then the next part is payment. So what they charge you for that is £167 as of the time of making this video. I don't know, maybe when you're applying whether you would have changed by that. Yeah, at the time we did that, it was still the same price, right? So they'll charge you £167, right? That's like the application fee. So when you're done making the payment, you will now, you will generate a unique application number, URN, UAN, I can't remember exactly what they call it, but there's a number that they give you, because now, like I said, you're doing that on the gov.uk website. So when you're done with the payment and you've generated that number, they will now redirect you to the Technician website. This is what I did, because again, like I said, I'm focused on digital tech. So they will direct you to the Technician website. So on the Technician website, remember the URN I mentioned? you need to provide it so that they will be able to link the evidences you're submitting to the application that you submitted on the gov.uk website. They'll ask you to enter the time you submitted the application on the gov.uk website, right? So if you start the application on the gov.uk, I think they give you 2 weeks for you to complete the application on the technician website. But yeah, you can verify. Like I said, the official documentation will tell you this. As you're also filling the form on the gov.uk website, you will see all this information, right? So that means you have to make sure that it falls within that period. So now, you know, when you get to the technician website, you create your account, you provide the URL like I mentioned, and then the specific documents that you would upload, right? And the ones that you would just copy and paste. So what I did was that you upload the evidences, the 10 evidences, right? You just upload those documents, and then they will ask you to specify. So here's exactly how it happened for us, right? So they asked me to upload the documents. I uploaded the documents, right? Then remember, for us, we selected optional criteria 1 and 3. So they ask you to specify the name of the documents that you use for the different criteria, right? So for mandatory criteria, I entered the names of the documents. I entered it the way I saved it on my laptop, right? And then for me, it was optional criteria 1 and 3. They also asked me to specify, to enter the names of the documents that were saved that I used for my optional criteria 1 and 3. So I did those two. This is after you've uploaded the document. So you literally just upload the document first, right? And then you come and enter the names of. So one tip here would be to name your documents in a certain way. For mandatory criteria 1, I used a naming structure called so remember I have 4 evidences. I use MC_1 and then hyphen, I put the name of the document. So for the second document, I use MC_2 hyphen the name of the document, like that. For optional criteria 1 and 2, I use OC_ just like that, to make it a bit more easily for whoever needs to access it to understand what you're sharing with them. And once that is done, like you've already put the names of the file, you upload the files, you know, you have to fill a couple of more forms. Pretty straightforward. You put information about the people that are recommending you, you just move forward and then you submit. Yeah, if you've gotten to that stage, you just have to wait. So officially on the documentation, they'll tell you that it takes 8 weeks officially, right? But for us, it took it took really less than those 8 weeks. It was somewhere around 2 to 3 weeks before our endorsement came out. I'm sure we'll definitely be doing another video on the next phase, right, which is applying for a visa. So this is focused on applying for technician and getting the endorsement. Once you get the endorsement, you will need to use that endorsement to apply for the visa. So that's the next phase that we'll basically talk about, and probably another video that she will make, my wife will make.
So guys, that's the summary of the process to apply to get the technician endorsement. I'm going to make another video saying the step-by-step process between when you get your endorsement and then moving down to the UK. So guys, I know it seems like it's a lot of information, but you can always go back and watch the video over and over and over again. And if there's any question you have, please drop your questions in the comment section. We'll make sure we answer your questions. Something that I would like to add is that after the first application, of course, it's not it's not everyone that may get a yes after the first application. For us, we actually did not get it the first time. There's some things we overlooked basically in the application, so we missed it the first time. However, if for any reason your application is denied, they will also give you the reasons. The reason, they'll state it clearly why your application has been denied, and then it's not the end of the world. Like I said, for us, we applied twice before we eventually got it. So if you get a denial, you can always appeal, and for that appeal, you basically just state why you think you should be given the endorsement, That appeal process takes a maximum of 4 weeks before you get your response. And then if again you are denied, you can always reapply. Of course, you put in the corrections, put in the necessary details that need to be put in. Like in our case, there were some little things that we missed out that we put into the second application, and then after 2 weeks of the second application, we got our endorsement. So subsequent video will be from the after you get your endorsement, the visa application, down to when you step into the UK. So this next video is not limited to just the technician. You could also apply it to any other form of visa route you are coming in through. So this is where we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and we're going to see you in our next video. So from us,
peace out.
bye.